I feel like another one that was kind of also aligned with like permission to speak up for yourselves was Secret Life of a Dominatrix, which of course people are like, oh, TV, whatever. But I learned so much on that. It was a bigger role for me. I had a ton of dialogue. I had to do an accent that I did not have training in. So I feel like, there was like a lot of pressure. And my co-star, the lead in it, she was amazing. And I learned so much from her. And just messing up or just, she would just be like, can I take that back? And it wasn't a big deal. She didn't like get stressed out. And it was just like, oh, I flubbed that line. Let me take it back. Take one pause, move forward with the scene. And I feel like I've never witnessed that in like all the things I've done or had. Like, I just felt like she gave me, again, a lot of permission to speak up for myself, speak up for what I need. And yes, again, time is money. But if I just pause instead of having a whole meltdown because I flubbed a line and like get mad at myself, I could just be like, oh, I'm human. I flubbed that line or I forgot the line or whatever it is, and pause and move forward, which is going to take less time if I have some whole big tantrum or get mad at myself because.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Talent Agent Talk, where we are bringing you educational lessons and real-life stories behind the scenes of TV and film. I'm your host and a talent agent, Jason Lockhart, and today our guest is Ashley Dougherty.
Hello.
Hi, Ashley. It is so fun being on your team.
It is so fun having you on my team.
Well, it is. I mean, it's just like all of us at AMT. Like, we just love your energy and how you just put forth so much into everything you do, and it shows like in your work. So
I appreciate that.
Thank you for always showing up and always saying yes and being so positive.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like we were joking about, like, what credit do we even talk about? Because it seems like you're always working. You have so many. But you want to talk about Doom Patrol?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'm a huge DC nerd anyways. And you're recurring on it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, take me back to the audition. Like, what was that like?
So way back, it was right before right when I decided to move to Atlanta. So like the signs were signing of like, oh, okay, this is the right move. Had the audition, had no idea because it was the pilot. I'm not as into comics, so I didn't know that much. And still, I feel like there's, things that are going to change from the comic to the show, and did not know it was a flashback scene either. So I didn't know it was based in the 80s. Definitely was not dressed 80s themed for my audition.
And yet that didn't even matter.
No. Yeah, which is nice. The audition was crazy. I don't know what the show is rated, but it was just a full-fledged sex scene.
How do you do that in an audition?
That is something I've gotten very good at. A weird thing to say. But yeah, you use stools are very helpful for those types of auditions. Breath, body. So you kind of
just go for it.
You just go for it. And it was just like this crazy, it was like multiple scenes spread into one. So it was kind of a lot happening. But yeah.
And then do you remember getting the news?
I do, which was actually a lovely time because I was on set for Dynasty in my trailer when I found out that I booked it. And it was nice because it wasn't an avail checker pen. It was just like, you booked it, here are your dates, which is not very common.
Were you nervous at all or like?
Not really, which I feel like is, I would like to go back to that version of me and like be a little more, I feel like not so just free. I feel like you have like both sides of the coins. You learn a lot as you age in this industry and gain more experience, but there's like almost like that naive part of you that plays and doesn't care as much and doesn't have the pressure put on, which I feel like.
You think you have more pressure now?
I think I put more pressure on myself now.
And I wonder why, because
I feel like because you're always trying to climb to that next level, I think. In that time, that was one of my first bigger credits. So I feel like that was like the next level.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I look at your career as like, she's a working actress. like there are actresses out there that wish they had one credit.
For
And
sure.
you've got so many.
For
You know,
sure.
like you're always booking
Yeah,
something.
I think we're our own worst enemies, you know, at the end of the
Absolutely.
day.
Well, that keeps you humble.
For sure.
You know, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why you do keep working,
Mm-hmm.
is because you're just doing the work and no one has any idea what's going on in your own, you know, in your own world, in your own mind, because it's just coming across as so slick and professional and positive.
Yeah.
So then what was it like being on set and working with Brendan Fraser?
Amazing. He is literally one of the like loveliest human beings ever, and especially dealing with those scenes, he took care of me, you know, cut when we needed to cut, when we weren't cutting. Not saying like anyone was doing anything wrong, but they, you know, were trying to keep rolling. But he was like, no, it's taking too long. We just need to cut and get robes and pause.
Was there an intimacy coordinator?
There was not.
'Cause this was pre.
This was like really early. Yeah, like I think they had become a thing, but they weren't like a widespread thing. So there wasn't one. And when I got to come back, the director tried to like help a little more than the first, because I had two different directors. But it's still like what I feel like they don't really know what to do with those scenes, so it's just kind of awkward.
Yeah. So how does an actress stay comfortable in a situation like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to know before you get into that situation what you're comfortable with, and I mean, that whole thing was a learning experience because we had every sex scene that you can imagine in those episodes, all of it, very close. I'm pretty sure his sweat got in my mouth at some point.
But it's a job.
Yeah, it's a job, and it, you know, it being able to communicate that situation was different too because there's power dynamics. You know, he's a huge. It's not just like I'm with somebody at my same level. You know, so there's that element as well of like, ooh, like being comfortable speaking up and communicating my needs and what I need in the scene. And
Did you feel comfortable then?
I did, because he was super nice. Like we would talk just normal about our kids in between, like totally nothing
Wow,
related
that's
to that. Yeah, just and he had brought his kids to set one day, but they did not get to come to set.
Yeah, that would be a
It was like wrong day to bring them here.
So you say you learned a lot. Like, what would you say was kind of like the main takeaway from that experience?
I think learning how, like navigating those scenes without, you know, I didn't have the intimacy coordinator. So I learned so much about that, how to speak up for myself and what, you know, like having him speak up for me and like, oh, okay, like that's something I'm allowed to do and I can do, you know, like I think he gave me that permission. So, you know, like next set or next time I'm in that, I feel like, okay, I know how to speak up. I know to say, hey, no, like we need to cut. I need a robe, or I need a moment. So I think learning how to speak up for yourself.
It takes courage.
Yeah.
Especially like you said with power dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it true?
Like time is money, but like, no, like at the end of the day, like our well-being is the most important thing.
They will get better results if you're comfortable.
Yep.
Absolutely. And haven't you gone into intimacy coordinating?
I have done some training. I go back and forth all the time of like, do I want to keep pursuing this or do I not? It's always there because I feel like I have booked more of those scenes as time has progressed, and I feel like I'm good at them and I understand that world and I understand how to help like actors like advocate for themselves in those situations. So it's definitely something I think I'll continue to explore.
I think that's great because I think that's a really interesting position in our industry that's relatively new, especially post the SAG-AFTRA strike.
Yeah.
And I do think it's going to take people that are really passionate to make a difference in there.
For
So
sure.
if you have any passion with that, I mean, it's just great for men and women across the board in those uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of fellow actors who also know that I've, you know, done some training, reach out if they've had like an intimate scene, they book something and they're like, oh, like, hey, how do I navigate this? I'm feeling a little like not so sure about this situation. So that's been like nice to be able to give back from my experience to other people.
And would you agree that like an intimacy scene could even just be a kiss?
100%. And I think that's where people like think, oh, it's got to be this full-fledged like nudity or sex. And no, like a breastfeeding mother, like you might see a breast. that's still an intimate. Even kissing a child that's not yours, that's like all relationships are intimate, so it doesn't have to necessarily be, a sex scene. It can be a mother-child, all sorts of different things. To me, is how I see intimacy.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And it absolutely, I love that now that they're in a new crew position, essentially, set to keep the actors comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about like another credit or another lesson that you might have learned like over the years, because I do feel like you're just always bouncing on these sets.
Yeah.
I know like we've got you working with Tuska Musk and like,
Yeah.
you've just done so many cool things. Like, is there any major like takeaway where you're like, oh, this was a great experience and I feel like a stronger actress or woman from this?
I feel like another one that was kind of also aligned with like permission to speak up for yourselves was Secret Life of a Dominatrix, which of course people are like, oh, TV, whatever. But I learned so much on that. It was a bigger role for me. I had a ton of dialogue. I had to do an accent that I did not have training in. So I felt like, there was like a lot of pressure. And my co-star, the lead in it, she was amazing. And I learned so much from her. And just messing up or just, she would just be like, can I take that back? And it wasn't a big deal. She didn't like get stressed out. And it was just like, oh, I flubbed that line. Let me take it back. Take one pause, move forward with the scene. And I feel like I've never witnessed that in like all the things I've done or had. Like, I just felt like she gave me, again, a lot of permission to speak up for myself, speak up for what I need. And yes, again, time is money. But if I just pause instead of having a whole meltdown because I flubbed a line and like get mad at myself, I could just be like, oh, I'm human. I flubbed that line or I forgot the line or whatever it is, and pause and move forward, which is going to take less time if I have some whole big tantrum or get mad at myself because I messed up.
I mean, that's a great lesson.
Yeah.
And like, I truly believe you will be a series regular. And when you are, if you can exercise that lesson, the show will be more successful.
Yeah. And that actress went on to just be a series regular in the NCIS Origins. So
there you go.
Yep.
Can you imagine? I'm sure there are series regulars who do like, they don't care about time being money and they're wasting it and they have like diva moments and all this crap. And
I've seen that.
Right? And I fully believe you won't be that actress. They'll be really lucky to have you and you'll be really professional and really prepared. And all of this work you're doing and have done will lead to that moment.
Yeah.
Speaking of, do you have a dream role you'd like to do?
I feel like probably Angelina Jolie's role in Girl Interrupted. I would love to play a very like complicated, messy character. Yeah, a little misunderstood.
You will.
So, yeah.
You will get that role.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have a last question, but I actually do, because that should be the last one. But because I feel like you could actually book every tape you turn in, I'd like to ask about your auditions. Like, what is it? Do you have like a process, or is there a quick decision that you make, or like what is it that you do that honestly that just makes them as good as they are?
I feel like using my experience, like whatever, like I had one recently that was very aligned with the role, but instead of being stressed that, oh, I was tired, I only have this much time to tape this and I got to like scramble to find, and I have like my people and my go-tos, but this one I just was like traveling from out of town, had a long day of work the next day, so it was like I have this limited amount of time. I was tired. I was up at 5 o'clock that morning, and instead of letting that overwhelm me, I embraced it and brought it to that moment. So I think bringing me, and that one I felt like, oh, like I feel like that's casting directors are always like, you are the answer. It's like everyone's looking for like how to do it right or whatever. But I think I've embraced just bringing me in this moment, not me who I was a week ago or yesterday or whatever, like right here in this moment, who I am right now.
That makes so much sense, because I would say that, it's probably habitual for you at this point.
Yeah.
And it's why every tape is good. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. As a thank you for being here, you do win a free car.
Ooh.
So if you want to reach in here and pick one out, please do. And what did you get?
What is... I don't even know.
Oh, wow. You got a Tesla. No, you got an Alfa Romeo.
Like an old school thing?
That's an Italian car. I actually was just
Ooh,
in Italy and saw them everywhere.
amazing. I've never been to
That's quite the
Italy,
sexy sport car
so
for you. Really? Well,
here we go.
you can hop in that thing and you're one step closer. Ashley, thank you for being here.
Thank you for
Awesome to
having
see
me.
you. To our audience, thank you for tuning in. Special treat as always to just get to do this. And thank you to Jesse Malinowski and Get Seen for producing. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show because you got your own cool listener booking story, you can pitch it right to us. It's talentagenttalk@gmail.com. Again, that's talentagenttalk@gmail.com. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.